Yeah, we definitely will. Well, we're going to get into Bitcoin right now. So let's take a look. We got BTC at, like I said, literally right at six figures. We're just over 100K, at least by what I'm looking at the moment here on Coin Paprika. $100,054 for BTC. It's been a bullish day, up about 3% over the last 24 hours. ETH up 6% over the last day. It's at 34.37 right now. And of course, a lot of the altcoins there on the top page are moving to XLM up 13% on a day. Maybe a stellar comeback this bull market. I guess we'll see. But yeah, things are looking good right now. A lot of bullish sentiment today. To tie in with where we are with Bitcoin and the overall market, we did have CPI data, that's core inflation data in the US, come out. Most of the numbers either equated what people expected or were better than what people expected. So we got bullish action big time immediately right off the news today. That was pretty much first thing this morning. Market reacting over that. Of course, once again, Trump inauguration on Monday, people we've been in this chill out zone, but it seems like the more news that we're hearing about all the executive orders that he plans on doing day one, maybe the most bullish news of the day, which we will talk about in more detail, what he has said, what the SEC could look like under Paul Atkins right away, and possibly the freezing of certain cases right now, which, I mean, we're going to get into that. Lots of bullish news today, but in terms of the price Ewok, how do you feel about this? We're 2 weeks into January now, 2 weeks into 2025, the big final year, hopefully, of this, well, maybe even 2026, who knows, but the big liftoff point of this bull market. How do you feel about where prices are right now, and how's Bitcoin and ETH both looking to you here?
Both looking very bullish. I pulled out to the weekly time frame here, and obviously, as anything happens, you always want to zoom out too, just to kind of get a better look and feel of the overall picture. We'll take it down to the daily though, just to kind of get a little bit of a closer look. I'm seeing actually 100,200 on Coinbase's price anyway, so they are varying just a little bit, which means there's a lot of volatility. Yeah. This is the opportunity for people to do some arbitraging between exchanges and take those little bits and pieces when they can. But what I was saying earlier, I'm going to zoom back out to the weekly chart, because I never realized this, that Bitcoin and altcoins are completely opposite. And this is going to be crazy for me to say. And as long as I've been in crypto, I didn't piece this together. But so Bitcoin actually goes up for 3 years and down for one, whereas altcoins go down for 3 years and make a crazy run for one. So they're completely opposite. And I was like, I heard that and I was like, what? Really? And I look at it, and I never realized that time frame was that close to being, obviously from December to, it was November, whatever was the low. But you could consider that anywhere in the first one after 2018 top, or the 2017 basically Christmas top. Yeah, so it was just kind of interesting to see how polar opposite they really are. However, the gains now that you're getting in Bitcoin are that much still lower than the altcoin gains, which just tells you how degenerative we are, that we have to go for the thing that falls for 3 years and only up for one, instead of taking the smart money and investing and being up for 3 years and then down for only one. So I just thought that was interesting.
Well, what's funny, if you wanted to get even more granular with that, I mean, yeah, as an altcoin index, what you're saying is probably generally true. But if you wanted to get even more specific, I mean, with a lot of the alts, it's more like 2 to 3 months that they're up. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, if you were on a broad scale, what you're saying is pretty much correct. But yeah, I mean, if you wanted to get even more specific, it's maybe even more degen looking than that. And I think it's a good point that you bring up, and we're nowhere near this point. No. But as this year goes on, that's why I think it's a big thing that, obviously we understand people wanting to DCA out of the market into stables at first, but I think that's why, like, the importance of DCAing back into Bitcoin, like, for example, I know it's hindsight's 2020, and it's easy to say this in retrospect, but looking at 2022, November of 2022, when the FTX stuff was happening, Bitcoin gets to 17, 16, 15K. It really felt like the bottom, and then it proved to be, at least when we were recovering out of that 15K mark. That's just when like DCAing bullets into Bitcoin at that time, you really can't go wrong, and
Right.
why not do that? It's the bottom of the bear market. And then you got a whole other year after that of just kind of the 2023 sideways price action to maybe DCA out of your Bitcoin holdings as it slowly rises up into the alts that you're like, okay, this is what I think is going to fly. They're making good recoveries on their charts. I'm going to get into this stuff now. But here we are, January 2025. Pulse Chain, for example, has been out for a year and a half. If you were somebody, now this wouldn't be optimal, but if you were somebody that hasn't even gotten into this ecosystem yet, you still could put in a decent sized bag and make hay right now. I mean, it hasn't gotten away from us yet. I mean, certainly you totally missed the lows, especially on Pulse X. I mean, it's way, way up. But even right now, there's still a little bit of time, but not by a lot. But yeah, not really, time to get into the, DCing into BTC. But yeah, your point stands for sure.
Well, for real, like with the BTC, it's way too late. The bottom was 15,000. So obviously we're not going to see anything close to that, even if it does pull back and retrace. It would be in the 70, 80,000 range, maybe. But yeah, you're not going to get anywhere near that. But to your point, yeah, I mean, we're not that far off the bottom for some of these prices, for Pulse Chain especially. I mean, we're still at half of SAC rate for Pulse, and a third, or maybe it's about a third for Pulse X. So we are not anywhere near even SAC rate on both of those. So yeah, you still have plenty of time. But to your point though, with the stable coins, I don't know. I wouldn't want to lose any value, and you're still going to lose value with your Bitcoin. Why would you? I'm just not sure why you would go into Bitcoin instead of a stable coin, because you're going to retain as much value as possible when you're in a stable. Is that just in case it's not over? Is that what you're thinking?
I mean, I guess so, but I more so meant like getting into a stable and then DCAing back into Bitcoin, whatever it looks like it's bottoming. That was the main point that I bet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I do think there's been data before, though, that like going directly into Bitcoin here and there, like for at least one of the cycles, actually looked like the correct move over stables because of what it did shortly thereafter. But yeah, me personally, I mean, like I would be more interested in going to stables just so I know where everything's at and then getting into Bitcoin later, or even Ethereum. I mean, like you might want to wait, be a little bit more careful with Ethereum, obviously, when it gets to the bottom. But yeah, either one's a pretty safe bet at that point. So.
Yeah, and especially with the stable pools that we have that can generate yield, there's really not a whole lot of risk there, unless the banks were to freeze all the stable coins, which I don't see that happening. That would create some sort of crazy lawsuit that many people would be on board with. So yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the opportunity that most people should or will take anyway.
Yeah, and we're going to get into like major detail about those mechanisms and stuff like whenever we get towards the end of the bull market. Yeah, because you can earn a decent APY just on those stable yields there. But what do you think right now in terms of where BTC is at, and then ETH in comparison to BTC? Because we still have BTC or ETH at like what 0.033 or something. It's still not clear that it's necessarily bottomed against Bitcoin. Obviously, bottomed in USD value. It's going up. But what do you think about both of these? And has your kind of long-term view of where Bitcoin could get this cycle? I saw Trump out there a little bit earlier, basically like calling for 150K BTC like early in his term and stuff like that. I guess just what are you seeing with both of these here over the course of this year?
Yeah, I mean, just when I thought that we had bottomed on this ETH Bitcoin ratio, it turns around and makes another lower low. Now that was just 3 days ago. Looks like on the 13th. It looks like, so 2 days ago. But it is making a nice run, nice recovery back today. We're at 0.0356, eclipsing some of this range that we had been chopping around in for quite a while. I do think what we're seeing right now is a front running for the inauguration. I think people are trying to get ahead of it, and that's basically what it is. We'll see what happens whenever he does get into office and these other players get instilled into their positions and things like that. How bullish this does become. But I think what we're seeing right now is totally the front running of that. I think people are just trying to get ahead of it. Interest rates, as you said, came back pretty good today with the
inflation. Yeah,
or
inflation.
yeah, the rates came back better than expected, I think. So
Yeah.
But needless to say, in the pulse chain ecosystem, we are still in a really good position. And DJ Moonboy said it. I think these prices are still fantastic. So yeah, everything is looking very healthy. I think we are out of the woods for the most part. I hate saying that, but there's always the chance for little pullbacks here and there, but they are healthy. So any buying opportunity now is definitely a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're lining up really well. I mean, it could be people front running the Trump stuff, but also, like you said, good news has come out plenty today, really. So
Yeah.
that is all cool. We'll see if we do see like a slight sell off after he's sworn in, but yeah, things are definitely picking up. So good things are looking good for Bitcoin and ETH. Got to have ETH make a turnaround here soon, hopefully. So